Okay, this will be the last section in chapter 4. We're going to talk a little bit more about the end of what we were doing in the last presentation. We'll start out with the cost hierarchy, and then we'll talk about lean operations and the costs of quality. This is an image that was in the text, and it takes activities and breaks them down between activities that support the whole facility. And that would be like insurance on the plant. Or a product level activity, what's done just at the product level. And that might even be design activities. Okay, batch level activities. A batch would be, let's say if you produce razor blades, you do 10,000 at a time. That would be a batch. So you set up the machines and you run steel through it. And that would be a batch level activity, okay? And then a unit level activity, this is something that's done for each individual unit. So you want to keep that in mind, okay? It's done for each individual unit, okay? And this is right out of your textbook. So unit level activities, now we're on the bottom, incurred for every unit, like inspecting and packaging each unit. And pay attention to the examples that you get here because you want to be able to, identify what kind of activity what category it belongs to. A batch level activity is occurred for every batch, regardless of the number of units in the batch. For example, one would be machine setup. Once the machines are set up, the company can produce a batch of 1, 10, or 100 units. Okay, so the setup is done once for every batch of units. And then product level activities and costs incurred for a particular product, regardless of the number of units or batches they produce. So this would be lease payments on equipment used solely for manufacturing a particular product. I also would include like design activities. Okay, and finally, facility level activities. That doesn't matter how many units, batches, or products are produced. So this would be facility upkeep. So depreciation, insurance, property tax, and maintenance on the entire plant. These aren't things that you can charge per unit. Okay, they're done for the whole thing. So here's an example to classify costs within the hierarchy. So you want to classify these as either unit, batch, product level, or facility level. So engineering costs for new product, that would be product level, okay? Order processing. An order, believe it or not, I think orders are done in batches, okay? Depreciation on the factory would be the facility. Direct labor would be unit. Shipment of an order to a customer. Shipment of an order. So the cost object is the order. What do you think? Shipment of an order. It wouldn't be a batch. Wouldn't be product level. It's got to be a unit level. Okay? Some of these are tricky. Product line manager salary. That would be for a whole product line. Okay, so for product line, that would be product level. Machine setup costs that are incurred whenever a new production order is started. So setup costs are batch level. Okay, then a patent for a new product would be product level. Okay. Factory utilities. Factory utilities, look at that. The utilities are not per unit and they're not per batch. They're not necessarily product level. Okay, utilities are facility level, so that would be for everything. Okay, so that's like it applies to the entire plant. Direct materials, direct means traceable by definition, so that would be unit level. The cost to inspect each product as it's finished would be unit level, and the CEO salary, you can't take that down. That would be a facility level cost. Okay. So let's look at the benefits and limitations of ABC, and ABM is activity-based management. So using activity-based cost information to make decisions, it should increase profits, and also still satisfy customer needs. And it's useful for figuring out, what's the right pricing and what's the right product mix, what we should be producing to be able to cut costs. Like if you find out that, that inspection costs too much, maybe there's a way you can change the design to decrease the inspection costs. And then finally, routine planning and control decisions. Okay, that's what it's useful for, because you know a lot more about your process then. Well, for product and pricing decisions, you can change prices after you identify over or undercosted products that you may not have known about before you did the activity-based costing exercise. It is really a long process too to get it to implement it. To capitalize on extra profitability, maybe by increasing advertising. And often what happens is that with an overall rate, we overcost high volume products and undercost low volume products. Okay, if you're using a plant-wide rate, because the high volume products will eat up all the overhead. Okay, and we'll also maybe shift product mix. We might be doing something completely different. Now, in terms of cost cutting, it pinpoints opportunities to cut costs, things that were expensive that we didn't even know about before we find out when we do activity-based management. And one thing that we can do when we look at all these activities is we identify activities that add value to the customer and to the product, and activities that don't enhance the customer's image or produce any competitive advantage. And for those, we want to get rid of. Okay, we want to get rid of those. So we want to either reduce them or remove them from the process. And something like moving product around is one of those things that is non-value added. Okay, it doesn't make it a better product. So here's an example. This is in the textbook. I'm not sure about that page number, to tell you the truth. But one way of determining whether an activity adds value is to ask if it could be eliminated or reduced by improving another part of the process. If you can eliminate something like inventory storage, you could improve the production process. It wouldn't change the output at all. Okay, so anything that we can get rid of, we want to get rid of. And when to use it, you can go crazy on this, and you can spend all kinds of time on looking at activities and costs and drive everybody in the business crazy with it. But you want to make sure that the benefits exceed the costs. If accurate cost information, if it's used, it helps to set a competitive price or to find out even that you're losing money on something. And it also identifies opportunities for cost savings. So the benefits are highest when the distortion risk is high, because different products use different amounts and types of resources. High indirect costs, okay, if you've got high overhead, it's very difficult to allocate it accurately. Okay, we do our best, but nothing is ever going to be perfect. So that's a real management problem. High volumes of some products and low volumes of others. If the driver is volume related, then the volume gets over allocated. That's the trouble. So the cost to implement is lower if they've got strong IT systems. Okay, so if you've got accounting packages, barcoding, optical scanning, it's a lot cheaper to implement these systems. Okay, otherwise it's very, very expensive. So here, let's take a look at this to identify value-added or non-value-added activities. So costs of reworking a defective unit. Okay, that is non-value-added. All right, we already put the work into it. Cost of moving raw materials, non-value-added. Costs arising from a backlog in production, non-value-added. Salary for a supervisor, hopefully that's value-added. Wages of the workers assembling products, that's value-added. Costs of warehousing raw materials, that's non-value-added. Okay, engineering design costs for a new product, that adds value. Product inspection also adds value. Does it or does it not? I don't think it does. It depends on how you look at it, because like for a purchaser, if you know it's been inspected and it does what you want it to do, but in fact the product should do what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to go with non-value added on H. I'll check it out and let you know. So routine planning and control, creating budgets, comparing with actual cost to determine if our goals are being met. Okay, activity-based costing can help with all of this. Now, in the cost-benefit test, the benefits are higher when the risk of distortion is high. Okay, if they use a lot of different products that use different types and amounts of resources, or if they've got high indirect costs, if they produce high volumes of some and low volumes of others, then that's the kind of thing that you can expect to get benefits from. Okay, that it would be useful to do an ABC exercise. Costs are generally lower when the company has accounting and information system enterprise systems to help develop the system. Okay, that'll keep the cost down. And things like barcoding, optical scanning, web-based data collection. All right, then in order to do the ABC system, we're not going to add extra costs for these activities. It's better if they already exist. Signs the old system might be distorting costs is if the managers don't understand costs and profits. They're off in bidding jobs. Or if competitors with similar products are earning money and nobody else is, or you aren't. And if the employees don't believe it, the employees are thinking this isn't right. Okay, you really want to listen to your line operators. Or if the system's outdated, if they've diversified the products, if they've re-engineered the process, then the cost system probably hasn't caught up with that. Okay, it's really interesting to study this. It's a fun type project in a company. So let's look at lean operations real fast here. Lean thinking is what you want to do is create value for the customer and eliminate waste. And that is the dominant business paradigm. And what we're looking at is a customer orders something and we're able to supply it right away. So we've got short customer response time. Okay, traditional operations have defects, overproduction, waiting, not utilizing people to their full potential, transportation, inventory, movement, excess processing. All of these things are not value-added activities. Okay, they're things that we take for granted in some kind of an operation, but they really don't add value at all. So lean operations eliminate the waste of time, and just-in-time inventory focuses on purchase materials just when we need it. Okay, and there are plants that the trucker will have an ID, have a barcode, a card to use that will let him in the plant to drop off materials just before the company needs it, and he takes it right to the machine that is needing it, and that was what something like Ford would use. Value stream mapping. Okay, production occurring in self-contained cells. All right, this is actually good for employees too because you've got more ownership within, of a product or a process. Employee empowerment, making decisions at the lowest levels possible. So broad roles and the use of teams. And then the 5S workplace organization, where we sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. And you can read all about this in the textbook, okay? So characteristics of lean operations, continuous flow, a pull system, and that means that we produce an order when we've got an order. Okay, we don't build inventory ahead of time. We only build it when we need it. Okay, shorter manufacturing cycle times. So the time from the order is received to when it gets out the door is short. Small batches, reduced setup times. Point of use storage, an emphasis on quality, good supply chain management, and then another thing called backflush costing, and that's where we don't track every single cost every time it moves through the system. Okay, we can eliminate a couple layers there because it's in work in process for such a brief time. Drawbacks, if you've got supplier strikes or problems with distributors, that can make a big difference, like a delivery delay or weather-related issues, like it's been a tough winter up north this year with a lot of terrible driving, so I'm sure they're experiencing production delays. Strikes, okay, shortages of parts or recalls. Like I understand that production of trucks now is way down because we don't have the chips, would you believe, to put in trucks? They're just not being produced fast enough. This is getting to be too long, isn't it? I'm really sorry. Sustainability and lean thinking both seek to reduce waste. Lean operations increase economic profit. And what sustainability really focuses on is increasing profits while preserving the planet and improving lives. So we look at both internal and external waste, and this is actually the whole huge area. And here's backflush costing. Because we've got just in time, we don't have work in process anymore, so we can just pretty much have goods come in and have it go right into finished goods. Okay, so the costs aren't assigned until they're finished or sold. Okay, that's what backflush costing is. I don't think you have to worry about that. We've got a quality framework here. Total quality management is a significant force in American manufacturing. It's to focus on consistently generating high quality products. So you want to provide customers with superior products and services. So each business function in the value chain examines its activities to improve quality and eliminate defects. And this happens continuously, not once, all right? It's constant. Costs of quality are classified as either prevention, appraisal, internal failure, external failure. The next slide has a bunch of examples of this. Make sure that you have a handle on it, okay? Prevention are costs incurred to avoid poor quality goods. Appraisal is to try to find them. That would be inspection. Internal failure are incurred in defective units before they get out. External failure is the really bad one. That's when we've got a bad product that goes out to a customer and then comes back. Okay, so the cost here is much higher than what we think it might be. And here are some examples, okay, of like prevention is training, evaluating potential suppliers, using better materials, etc. Okay, make sure that you look at these because some of them are tricky to tell the difference, like the difference between internal failure and which one is it that's hard? These are all inspection pretty much, okay? Inspection and testing. Here's prevention. Internal failure, like an abnormal quantity of scrap is an internal failure. Rejected units disposal. I think it's these two, internal versus external failure, that are sometimes to tell apart. So hard to tell apart, so spend some time on these, okay? I want to try to finish this. Oh, I think you've got this one for homework. I'm going to keep going so you can get finished with this, okay? Costs of quality of service and manufacturing companies. They also have prevention, which is training, develop standardized service checklists, appraisal, reviewing your work, and inspections. And internal failure is when it fails review and you've got rework. And this is a whole cost of quality report where we see how much did we spend in training, $125,000. Okay, what's the total percentage of the cost of quality? That was 6.1%. In appraising, for testing, we spent 8.5% of the total cost. Internal failure costs us 17.0%, but look at the cost of external failure. Okay, reputation costs are enormous. This is 68%. So the more we spend up here, the more we can save in external failure. Okay, that's how you really need to think about this. And so here's an example of after analyzing the report, the CEO is now considering the following. And they expect the quality program to reduce costs by $1,425,000. Okay, so they're going to do some supplier screening, inspect raw materials. I mean, you would do an analysis first where you'd find out where your problems were. Okay, but these are all initiatives that are undertaken now in different companies. Okay, one more slide. Here's the savings. So here's the quality initiative. They've broken it down between prevention, appraisal, internal failure, and external failure. These are the savings they expect to generate, and here's the total cost savings in each area that they expect. Okay, all right. It's a big chapter, but the quantitative part is in the first half of the book. The second part you still need to have an understanding of. Okay.